Hello, everybody. It's your boy, Matthew Walden, and this is Devotionables, brief devotions for busy people just like you. And I have a question for you this morning. What do you do to get God to answer your prayers? It's a great question. I feel like we all have many prayers that are valid and that we want God to answer. And so today I think we're going to look at Psalm 143 together. We're going to ask that question: how can we pray prayers that God answers? And so Psalm 143 is a prayer from David, and it's a cry for help to God. And so in this psalm, I just want to point out a few things for you guys that I think are really helpful principles for us today as we approach prayer and try to figure out how we can pray prayers that God will actually answer. And so the majority of where I want to spend our time is looking at verses 7 through 10, two specific prayers that David prays and what we can learn about prayer from those. But before we get there, if we look at verses 1 through 2, this is what David writes. Lord, hear my prayer. In your faithfulness listen to my plea, and in your righteousness answer me. And so then in verse 2 he says, do not bring your servant into judgment, for no one alive is righteous in your sight. And so there at the beginning he says, Lord, hear my prayer. And then it's like he gives a reason why God should hear his prayer. And it's not because he is righteous, but instead he says, it is in your faithfulness listen to my plea, and in your righteousness answer me, instead of looking to me. Because what does he say? He says in the verse 2, no one alive is righteous in your sight. So first thing to know when we are praying prayers to God that we want him to answer is that we approach God in prayer based on his righteousness, his character, not our own. And then as we look down to verses 7 through 10, I want to look at two prayers that David prays, and we'll look at, what does it look like for us to pray prayers like that we can, see the Lord answer. And so verses 7 through 10 read like this. Answer me quickly, Lord, my spirit fails. Don't hide your face from me, or I will be like those going down to the pit. Let me experience your faithful love in the morning, for I trust in you. Reveal to me the way I should go, because I appeal to you. Rescue me from my enemies, Lord. I come to you for protection. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. May your gracious spirit lead me on level ground. So the first one that I want to point to is in verse 7. Don't hide your face from me, or I will be like those going down to the pit. And we know as Christians we are united with Christ, and so we have a relationship with God. But I think experientially, I have experienced this, maybe you as well. When we are not walking in accordance with God's commands, it's almost as if He does hide His face from us. He takes His presence from us almost experientially. And so I would say that's a prayer that we can pray boldly to God. Hey Lord, reveal to us again your face. Help us to be close to you. But not only must we pray that prayer, but we also must, in turn, put to death these sinful actions, these sinful attitudes, these sinful desires that are mounting within us that are actually separating us from the Lord. And then secondly, we look down to verse 10, and David writes, teach me to do your will, for you are my God. May your gracious spirit lead me on level ground. And as Christians, we too can pray this exact same prayer, but we don't just pray this prayer to God, Lord, teach me, Lord, lead me, and we don't actually put action behind this. And so if we're asking the Lord to teach us and to lead us, we must do what? We must look to His Word, because the Lord has revealed Himself to us in His Word. He has given us all that we need right here for life and godliness. He has revealed Himself most clearly in His Son, Jesus Christ. And so we can learn from His Word, but we also are led by His Spirit through the Word, because what does Psalm 119, 105, 109 say? It says that your Word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. And so I think, if we just step back for a second, we look at this psalm from a distance, I think there are principles here that we can learn about praying prayers that God answers. We must not only pray certain things, but we must put action to our prayers as well to see them answered. And so This makes me think of a quote that I'd heard, a few different times throughout my life by a guy named Augustine. Maybe you've heard of him, a church historian. And so one of the quotes that he has that I think ties directly in with this is that he says, you need to pray as though everything depends on God and work as if everything depends on you. And so today, as we go throughout our life, whatever our prayers may look like during this season, let's not only pray as though only God can do those things, but we must also put action into what it looks like to see those prayers answered. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great day.